you see my screen?
Yes, sir. We are able to watch it.
Okay, good. I
Yes,
can't see many of you now actually because all I have is my presentation screen, but I hope we get to meet. Perhaps at the interactive session, I will stop sharing and
yes,
uh,
yes,
uh,
sir. In fact,
yeah.
Sir, it would be great if you open up your camera for the PR team to take the
Oh,
discussion. Yeah.
after the introduction, then is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Uh,
that would be fine. That would be
yes,
fine.
sir. During the whole course, when you are interacting with
Actually, it
us.
automatically closed. I did not close it. Maybe it's because of I stopped sharing and now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe once you give a go ahead, that is the time I will do this one. Share the screen, okay? Once you give me go ahead, then that is the time I will share the screen.
That's fine, sir.
So
That's fine.
I think we'll wait for 2 minutes more
Yeah, yeah,
and then we'll officially start with our track 3.
yeah. So when you give me a go ahead, that is the time I will share the screen, and that is the time I think the camera automatically gets shut.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. How has the morning been so far?
It has been good session, sir. 6 speakers, 2 sessions.
Very
We
good.
just concluded at about 2, and we had a quick lunch break, 30 minutes, and we're back.
So you gave me a tough slot. Post lunch is not never easy.
No, everybody is very excited. Already about 100 people have joined, and they are just in the process of joining, sir.
Okay, very good. We can
Yeah,
start
I
whenever you
do.
want me to.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I also told them to bring their lunch boxes to the table so that we can start in time.
Yes, that should also be fine. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I mean, most of them would have had their lunch, but in case somebody remains to be done, then they can do that also.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I would have been very excited to be there physically. I mean, it would have been nice.
Yes, yes.
The way your students and coordinators and even faculties have been exchanging and the program I see, I hope this is just a beginning of a good relationship.
Yes,
Of
yes.
course, absolutely. And we look forward to meeting physically on the campus soon. We all pray that
Yeah,
we meet. Yes, yes.
that's true. And tell you what, for last over 2 decades, I've been doing this very regularly at different MBA schools,
Mm-hmm.
topics, and this is energy is one of my passionate topics. So I think it's good. I mean, really look forward to engaging with you guys.
Yeah, hopefully things are falling in place as far as COVID is concerned, and maybe I think couple of months things would be.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I mean, already the GST collection numbers have been encouraging, which
They
means
have been encouraging. That's right.
these are kind of getting back to normal. So that also means that hopefully things will look up. Have you guys started your college physically or no?
No, sir, we haven't started, but only today we have announcement from the government of Gujarat regarding
Huh.
partial starting of the educational institutions.
Huh.
And the university team is now working on that. How do we do it? Because our program is residential program, and we have to actually take
Okay.
utmost care of
Of
all the
course.
safety protocols.
Of course.
But to brief you, we started our session way back in the month of June. This particular
Haha.
session.
I see.
And we were able to start on time,
I
unlike some
see.
other B schools, including FMS Delhi, which started actually sometime only late October or so.
I
But we were
see.
able to start in time, and that
Huh.
actually gives us a lot of sort of headway.
That's
Uh,
great.
yeah, in terms of also conducting very important events like these and
Yes.
having experts like you.
Yes. And tell you what, to my mind, a time loss is the biggest loss.
Absolutely.
Students are not able to get maximum out of their coursework, then it's not good. So
Right, right, sir.
for students a lot.
Yes.
And you're
And
doing a good thing by continuing these things on an online mode. So
yes, sir.
mm,
And Anvesh, we can start now. I think formally students have joined
Yes,
on
sir.
board and we can formally start so that we are able to also manage our time. Yes,
yes,
Asif,
that would be
Asif,
nice.
please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes, women.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you everyone for showing such enthusiasm towards the previous two tracks. Now we are going to start with our last track for the day. The recent slowdown notwithstanding, India is expected to be one of the world's fastest growing economies, with increase in demand for personal and commercial mobility as one of the key growth drivers. The need to sustainably grow the mobility ecosystem, both from an economic and environmental perspective, has led to the electrification of powertrain and the introduction of electric vehicles. The government of India is spurring action by helping citizens make this transition. It has a vision of having at least 30% of vehicle fleet as electric by 2030. With the growing demand for mobility in India, the potential for scale adoption of EVs across different consumer segments, including passenger movement as well as freight movement, is significant. The dividends of a shift to a cleaner and low carbon transport system will address the issue of mitigating climate risk, enhance mobility standards, and higher savings for end consumers. The future of mobility in India will need to be convenient, connected, reliable, and electric. Having said this, let's start our last track for the day, that is the future of mobility. And to give us some wonderful insights on this topic, I would now like to introduce you to our first speaker of the day, that is Dr. Ravinder Utkekar. With over 29 years of work experience in varied fields of management, Dr. Ravinder Utkekar is currently the Vice President of Corporate Strategy and Marketing at Praj Industries Limited, one of India's leading industrial biotechnology companies providing end-to-end technological solutions. He holds a doctorate in management in addition to his bachelor's degree in electronics and engineering, both from Pune University. His research thesis revolves around renewable energy and international marketing strategies. A positive attitude coupled with entrepreneurial spirit helps him to acquire new skills. He has several publications in his name and has also been awarded the prestigious Jewel of MIT Award. He is passionate about education and has long-standing association with many of India's leading B schools. In leisure, he enjoys spending time with his family, reading management books, and gardening. Sir, we are honored to have you here with us today, and now we'd like you to please enlighten our students with your experience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for this generous introduction. Really appreciate you taking time to, explain all the finer facets. Really nice. So I will, before I start sharing my screen, I just want to quickly acknowledge the faculty members, the coordinators, and also everyone who is in the program today for, being here today, for giving me an opportunity to come here and discuss views. Energy is a topic that is very close to my heart, and I particularly appreciate that, notwithstanding the COVID crisis and the challenges thereof, your management, the faculty, and also positively responded by students is organizing conclaves like this, which I think are a very, very important part of learning. So on that note, if with your permission, can I just go ahead and share my screen?
Please, sir. So please, you're
Yes,
most
sir, you
welcome.
can.
All right.
Yes, sir, the platform is yours.
So yeah, so just give me a second. I have it here. Just tell me once you start seeing it.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir, sure.
It's all good?
Yes, sir, it's visible. Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the topic that I chose for today's discussion is on the new frontiers of mobility, and which is biomobility. So we are going to next in 20 minutes, we're going to discuss various facets of biomobility, how it helps energy, environment, economy, and society as a whole. So my presentation is today, it's structured in how the mobility has evolved over last centuries, how the energy landscape has been progressing, what are the past trends and where it is heading. Because the mobility has to do with the automobile system, we are going to take a quick look at the automobile ecosystem that we have. We are going to see why there is a need for looking at different mobility options, And then we are going to introduce biomobility and what drives it and what comprises of it. And we are going to look at the case study of Brazil. And before we close, we will just recap what we have. This is what I have on the menu. And I'll get started that, last year around same time when the best brains in the world met at Davos at the World Economic Forum, they identified the top 10 risks to a world economy. And not as many, not one, two, but as many as 6 risks in that top 10 were to do with the environment or the climate. So this clearly tells us that the way we are going about is not the right way. And if we don't challenge, if we don't contain the challenges that we are facing because of the way we are treating our environment and a climate, we would be seen heading for a big trouble. And that's why the investment in sustainable, renewable technologies, decarbonization projects is not a matter of choice anymore, but it's a business imperative. And if we keep going forward, and because we are talking about economy, if we look at the trends, the economy has been steadily going up and down. The down clearly seen with the crisis, recent one being the COVID-19 pandemic, which is resulted in the contraction of overall global economy, and which is expected to resurge back not coming fiscal, but the next year, not the coming year, but the next fiscal to the levels. That's the forecast. Obviously, markets have got this unique characteristics of surprising you, but that's the way the IMF had forecasted, and we have to see how it pans out. And if we keep going forward from the 18th century to the 19th, and then a new millennium, and then going forward, this is how the mobility has evolved, whether it is air transport, air mobility, rail mobility, road mobility, or even sea or marine transport. So we had initially steam engines, which eventually gave way to the internal combustion engines. Next generation of internal combustion engines is what we see now. And then going forward, there will be a lot of automation and autonomous cars and autonomous vehicles, but which will also have a sustainability element to it, which will come in the form of some green fuels. So basically, in today's times, we must concede that the entire mobility landscape is dominated by internal combustion engines. Now, if you look at what are the energy sources that help the mobility, we have classified the different energy sources which are in the form of crude oil, coal, natural gas, liquid natural gas, and biomass. When processed, we can use them for typical applications, whether it is industrial, residential, whether it is transportation or cooking. So that's how the energy landscape has also been all the time. And if we go forward, we will see that even from the 15th century, biomass or bioenergy has been an important constituent of the energy mix, in particularly in mobility. And thanks to the oil strike and obviously the surge of internal combustion engines in the early 20th and late 20th century, clearly the oil has taken over, which is today even dominating the entire mobility landscape when it comes to the energy sources. So we conclude that fossil fuels are the main source of mobility, driving mobility, where at the same time biofuels were there and they are now regaining the foothold. Now, we don't want to trace too much back in history, but this side just to tell you that biofuels have always been there, whether it is Henry Ford's time or getting into the pre-World War stage or post-World War stage, and even going forward, biofuels have always been there. Some countries have been early adopters, some are now finding merit in trying to utilize their captive sources. So basically what we are saying is we go back full circle when we try and develop our bioenergy as an important part of overall renewable energy mix, which was initially the case when many of the modern energy sources were not existent. If you look at today's energy landscape in India, you can see that over 80% of India's crude oil is imported, over 45% of liquid natural gas is imported. If you put the overall bill of import, it is in excess of $100 billion. And since 2007, it has doubled. And the way we are going, it is even going to double, or even going to rise at a 5.4 percentage compounded aggregate growth rate, and which would mean that if we don't change our ways, over 90% will be the import constituents by 2040. So we need to revisit the overall energy consumption patterns, mobility patterns, and in this we want to underline the fact that mobility continues to be the second largest consumer. And that from mobility we jump into the automobile industry, and this would be an interesting thing for you guys, because if you look at automobile industry numbers, you clearly see that we are the fourth largest market in the world, which is growing by around double-digit percentage annually. It is big contributor to manufacturing as well as overall GDP sector. There are so many original equipment manufacturers and their plants, in addition to the auto component industry that we are seeing here in India, and which is one of the largest employment generator or recruiter. So which means that for our economy, the survival, not just survival, but growth of automobile sector is a very, very important aspect. So this is a main, that's why it is said automobile industry is the mainstream or mainstay of Indian economy. Now, clearly in the automobile sector, which is today dominated by internal combustion engines, we have some strong merits. It has helped improve the economy, as we just saw. Clearly, there is a big productivity metrics because of which the IC engines have been in fashion for a long, long time. It is one of the biggest employment generator. At the same time, when you take automobile industry, the allied auto component industry actually makes a complete ecosystem. And therefore, if you take all the way from a small part manufacturer all the way to road development, you will see that there is a huge effort involved in infrastructure creation, and therefore this ecosystem built up is really a growth driver for the Indian economy or GDP as a whole. But we clearly know that internal combustion engines also come with a set of challenges. But when it comes to India and Indian economy, and those challenges are in the form of our dependency on the imported crude, associated foreign exchange outgo, and clearly everywhere, every metro city, we are seeing that the automobile sector growth is outpacing the infrastructure sector growth, and therefore we have traffic congestions all the time, which is also costing us time-wise and also resulting in greenhouse gas and emissions. So the internal combustion engine undoubtedly is important, but the way it is going right now, it probably needs a revisit, because if we talk about the pollutants or suspended particles from the exhaust, they are also a big health hazard. And considering all that, there are new legislations and new mandates that are coming into the play, which are going to severely constrain the existing variants of internal combustion engines, because the new BS6 and eventually BS7 norms will kick in down the line. So it has its own set of challenges. And if you purely look at numbers, the greenhouse gas emissions, transportation sector is one of the largest contributor, 23%, and that is cutting across all the economies. And that's why we are saying that we need to look for different decarbonization solutions, which are in the form of hybrid or flex fuel vehicles, electric vehicles or enhance usage of biofuels or biodiesel, which is in the form of bioethanol, sustainable aviation fuels, renewable natural gas, and so clearly we are establishing here that there is a need for alternate mobility solutions, and that's bringing me to the mobility part, which we just discussed, that we have this set of challenges, and if we actually harness the biofuels, then possibly we are going to look at different biofuels, whether it is the first generation of biofuel in the form of molasses, or second generation in the form of lignocellulosic, that is the agricultural waste. Then there is a sustainable aviation fuel, compressed biogas, a cousin of compressed natural gas. Then there is biomethanol. Then there are engines that can work on the gasoline as well as on biofuels. There are flex fuel vehicles which can work on flexibility between the fossil fuels and also the conventional on also the renewable fuels. By hybrid, we say that it can work on battery as well as internal combustion engines. So that's where we are saying that biomobility has potential to address the fossil fuel challenges, which are right now stated at the left of your screen. I'll take a small pause just to see whether we are doing all right. Am I going too fast, too slow? Are we on the same page?
It's all right, sir. We are enjoying listening to you.
Yes, sir. You are
going fine, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So I keep going forward, and that's where I'm saying we introduce biomobility to you. So the biomobility denotes there are carbon neutral transportation fuels which are produced using biological resources. We all know that on one hand, the plants absorb carbon dioxide as a part of photosynthesis. And the other hand, the goods, products, services made using the biological resources when consumed emit carbon dioxide. So the plants on one hand absorb carbon dioxide, and products made from plants emit carbon dioxide. So in a way, you are making this like a carbon neutral cycle. And that's why we are saying that biofuels do not add incremental carbon emissions. In fact, by not adding incremental carbon emissions, they are taking out carbon emissions which otherwise would have been the case had we been using the fossil fuels. And these biofuels we can use across all modes of transportation, like I said, surface, marine, air, and therefore we are finding that they have applications which are only increasing. If we keep going forward, we are saying for sustainability, there has to be a strong harmony between social, environmental, and economical aspects. In other words, economic growth cannot come at the expense of environment. For society, shouldn't get compromised if we look at only the economic aspect of it. So as long as you have all these three in harmony, you have a sustainability. And I think biomobility platform actually is a good example of how sustainable development can happen, because it helps combat climate change. It helps protect our economy against the crude oil pricing volatility. Today, the petrol prices are above 90 rupees, at least in Pune, and they have been rising very steadily. So, we are very vulnerable. And as you can appreciate that the petrol or transportation prices have a cascading effect on all commodities and daily consumables. So we have huge inflation. So we have to protect ourselves from this volatility. It of course reduces dependency on the imported, especially coming from the Gulf countries, imported sources, where there is often a bit of a tension between Gulf countries because of the oil and some crisis going on there. So it is in our interest that we need to reduce dependency. as a part of Atma Nirbhar Bharat program, we have to also be energy self-reliant. So these help you go a step towards achieving energy self-sufficiency. Obviously, the big need is to create jobs and create jobs in the rural households, because those rural households and farming communities, if they do not have ways and means to earn, they migrate to the cities. What that does is it already stresses the city infrastructure, and the living conditions and quality of life and the air quality index in cities drop. So therefore, rural job creation is very important. We also know that farmer inclusion is the one of the, in fact, you will be aware that agriculture employs the maximum percentage in India. It's a maximum, it's a segment that uses the maximum employment. And unless we include or ensure that the farmers have opportunity to actually have their income in addition to the crops, they will not find stability, because we often know that the crop prices are very fluctuating. So if we can provide a mechanism that not just the harvested crop but also the agricultural waste or the remains of bio plants can also be put to good use, it provides additional value to the farmers. That boosts rural economy, and that further strengthens India's overall GDP and growth. And the concept that I talked to you about just a minute back is about circular bioeconomy. So basically, it's bioenergy is also a form of solar energy in that sense, because from the solar energy, plants absorb, plants get light and do photosynthesis and actually absorb carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide, when actually consumed using bioproducts, these products are in the form of biofuels or bio-based electricity or bio-based materials, which are called renewable chemicals and materials. When consumed, they emit carbon dioxide. So in a way, the inner circle shows that it is a carbon neutral cycle that we are talking about. So that is why it is very important to understand this concept of circular bioeconomy. And the circular bioeconomy actually ensures that there is no incremental carbon that is added to the environment. So it helps us minimize our greenhouse gas emissions. And little bit more logically, in terms of building blocks, it is shown here that the agricultural residue is actually fed as a feedstock to what we call as a biorefinery. A biorefinery actually produces the sustainable aviation fuel as well as the biofuel in the form of gasoline and biodiesel and bioethanol, which can be blended. And then, there are other biogranules. These can be used for making biodegradable plastic or other compostable end products, which again in a circulation can be recycled, and again through the industrial biogas plants you can make what we call as renewable natural gas, or in India we call it compressed biogas, which can be used again for as a bio CNG for feeding tractors. So imagine that there is a farmland in rural part of India which has farming, and the byproducts of farming are actually fed into biorefinery, and that biorefinery again feeds the energies that is required for the tractor and the people who need there, whether it is electricity or a fuel. And so what you're talking is a self-sustaining decentralized economy in the rural parts of India that will take away the city crowding and population. And if you connect it with the big picture, clearly it helps climate change and global warming, which is one of the biggest challenges that we have. And that's where there are 17 goals that are specified by United Nations. And it is important for India to fulfill its COP21 Paris Summit obligation. And we are on track because we are able to harness our renewable energies better. So it also helps us fulfill our environmental obligations. I'm going to go a little bit fast because I think we are running out of time. But what I wanted to show on this slide is that the whole bioeconomy is expected to be $100 billion economy by year 2025. And from that, about 20% will come from industrial biotechnology, which is in the form of different types of biofuels, which is shown on the right hand side by way of different fuels that come as a part of biofuels. So imagine a typical crude oil refinery where you are feeding the crude oil, and at a different distillation level you are taking out different products and made into different things streams. Now accordingly you can imagine there is a bioeconomy, a biorefinery, which instead of crude oil as a feedstock is using biofeedstock, what we call as a biocrude. And then through a chemical and biological process, we are processing it. And then we are also making sure that you have different products coming out of it, which can be used as fuels or different renewable chemicals and materials. So we need to make a paradigm shift from a crude oil refinery to a biorefinery. The process has begun. India's 4 commercial scale biorefineries are being set up by Praj for the oil marketing companies. So that process has already begun. Then if you actually, this table is very important from your point of view, and I would request you to go line by line, although there is no much time for me to go line by line. What I want you to appreciate that there is a conventional mobility on this column. Then there is e-mobility on the next column, and then there is a biomobility. So conventional mobility actually uses the traditional gasoline, diesel. E-mobility uses the batteries, and biomobility uses the biofuels. Now, if you look at various parameters, and then these all mobilities are compared on different parameters, and what you will find that the mobility conforms or doesn't conform to are indicated by the traffic light signal. So for example, we can say that is the conventional mobility carbon neutral? Does it produce carbon neutrality? So no, we have a lot of greenhouse gas emission. Electric vehicles, are they carbon neutral? Definitely, as long as the electricity is generated from solar or wind or any other renewable energy. But fact is, today's 80% of India's need is on fossil fuel, coal, and other form of fuel. So it is not really carbon neutral, but biomobility is carbon neutral. So same way you can go line by line, and you can clearly see the big 1 or 2 things that I wanted to highlight is the inclusive growth. So just imagine that if the electric mobility has to come in, then electric mobility, which means battery vehicles purely have to come in, then existing automobile industry in terms of their assembly lines and auto component industry in terms of different component supply chain will have to undergo paradigm change, radical change from maybe 1 lakh parts to 10,000 parts, something like that. So what would happen to those infrastructure and those jobs? Additionally, we do not have the electric charging infrastructure the way we have fuel charging infrastructure. So we will be compromised when it comes to several jobs, and several industries will stop being there because those components are not required. Instead, you can actually use biomobility in combination with the conventional mobility, or even better with the e-mobility, which means you can graduate to hybrid form of mobility, a mobility that actually continues to work on batteries, because batteries are charged from renewable or solar panels. And then when the battery runs out, probably you are using gasoline, which is blended with the biofuels. That is the best
Hello,
form of mobility for us.
Very sorry to interrupt you in between, but I just wanted to give you a gentle reminder that we are running out of time, so you might miss some of the question answers. So if it's possible, can you conclude it quickly so we can have a
That's
question answer?
correct. I'm aware, and that's where I wanted to just, this slide was very important, and I hope you guys are able to have a long and hard look at it. And then, whatever I have been telling is all true, as can be seen in this slide, which
Yes, sir.
tells you that Brazil is a nation where most original equipment manufacturers and biofuels have been tried and tested. So Brazil's success story is for us to tell. And all this putting together, climate change threat is real. Transportation sector is the largest contributor. We believe that hybrid vehicles is actually the best solution for India. Biomobility is here to stay and grow. Brazil has a way forward for us. And then there are different ways the biomobility can help energy, environment, economy, and society as a whole. And I think we need to harness this captive source of biomobility as much and as far as possible. And that was probably the last rush slide that I had on my deck. I welcome any questions that you may have. Should we have some time left for question and answer session?
Definitely, sir. Over to you, Anchor, and you may please conduct the question answer session.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Shivanshu.
Yes.
So there are some questions in the chat box. If you may please allow me, I would read it out to you.
Kindly do.
So there are two people, Himanshu and Smith, and they both are concerned about what steps is government taking in increasing the production of biofuel.
So quickly, there are a number of there is something called as Biofuels Policy 2018. You can Google, and there is a lot of progressive paradigm shift that government has done. Then there is a policy called SATAT, SATAT. So if you can Google these two, you will find that the government has taken lots of measures to graduate to biofuels, to enhance the usage of biofuels. Additionally, they are giving a good pricing for biofuels for the sugar mill to maximize the production of biofuels. It's a big topic, but I think if you just Google Biofuels Policy 2018 and SATAT, SATAT for compressed biogas, CBG, probably the answers will come your way.
Great. Thank you, sir. You have any other question, Shivanshu?
Yes, sir. There is one more question, a short one. According to you, how much time it will take for India to adapt to this new form of electric mobility?
So that's a great question, and everyone is trying to figure out what the answers are. And just to give you quickly in perspective, like I said, electric mobility is the way forward, as long as the electricity is coming from the renewable sources. Now, today, India's whole energy landscape is dominated by fossil fuels. So even if you use electric vehicle here and charging in cities, it is going to be charged probably on the thermal power developed somewhere else. So it doesn't help environment to start with, number one. Number two, there are issues with the charging infrastructure of electric charging stations. That still needs to be resolved. Number three, the whole question about the manufacturing of battery, which is dependent on the rare earth materials, which are largely sourced from select countries, makes us again a pawn in their hands. So that problem needs to be resolved. Number four, the battery waste itself, disposal itself is a big issue because it's a toxic waste. So that's also another challenge. And number five, the Indian terrain is tricky. There are many ghats and high altitude slopes and ramps where the battery vehicles effectiveness, particularly for the commercial vehicles, need to be figured out. But the quick answer is it is ideally suited to the two-wheeler electric vehicles as a city phenomena, and then eventually it will take shape of passenger cars, low torque, low load, and eventually as the advancement happens in materials and production capacity ramps up and electricity becomes more renewable, probably EVs will take better shape.
I have one question from Dr. Ravindra. I mean, what is the future? What is the future of petrol pumps in India? Because there are too much talk going on. Moving toward e-mobility, and then your research talking about biomobility. So overall, how you see the overall future of petrol pumps in India? Because one side, we already have 60,000 plus petrol pump, and then government also have planned to make it 1 lakh. Right. So how you see all the development?
So just look at, just consider it like this, that even if we are saying that new vehicles will be electric vehicles, the legacy population, which is literally in millions and probably in billions, will still stay, right? Today, if you look at the cost pricing of a comparable rating of car in electric cars and fossil fuel cars, the differential is too high. And we know that Indian market is extremely price sensitive. So that means that there is no, in the foreseeable future, there is no death for internal combustion cars, engine cars. To add to that, there are legacy population of cars. To take a step forward, if you look at the business plans and strategic plans of most of the oil majors, none of them have said that we will stop refining and we will not do any exploration. They are pumping money. Of course, they are researching in how to make it more environment friendly and how to, so to my mind, the petrol pump future is definitely there. It will be continuing to be bright till the foreseeable future. The government will have to come up with a policy to find out whether there is a possibility of using the existing petrol pump infrastructure to also do electric charging, because some of them are not very friendly. So we'll have to figure out. But to say that petrol pump infrastructure or oil-based economy is under threat or cloud would be far too much of overstatement, because if you look at purely the percentile of EVs in the overall new products sold, and further bigger on the overall vehicles that are on the planet today, this figure is absolutely minuscule. So not that I'm a big proponent of fossil fuels, don't get me wrong. That's why we are saying that the biofuels maximization will help us achieve both. And like I said, consider for an economy like India, the electric vehicles do not factor in the farmer inclusion, farmer employment generation, farmer entrepreneurship opportunities, rural economy. And this is very, very central to the Indian social, environmental, economical, and rural landscape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We can conclude.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an interactive and engaging session. We hope to interact with you in the future again. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to the conclave.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being there. I understand this topic is too vast, and to cover it in 30 minutes would be like running a bullet train. And thanks to your moderator who asked me to rush it, because I would have gone and on and on. But I presume that this hopefully gave you some new insights and new insights.
Certainly.
Definitely.
My engagement with
It
you.
definitely did, sir. Thank you, sir. Over to
All
you.
right.
Anuj.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
So
you.
for our track 3, we have another esteemed guest among us. I'm so much delighted to welcome Dr. Marek Nowakovsky. He currently is the Director of Technical Department at STACOP SA and also is an academic lecturer at State Higher Vocational School in Suwałki, Poland. He did his Master of Engineering in Electronics and Communication and also pursued Master of Science in Management, and then did his PhD in Electronic Engineering at Białystok University of Technology. Dr. Nowakovsky started his professional career as an export specialist at Bison SA. He also has an extremely enriching experience of 10 years at ACSA as a business development manager, OEM project leader. We are so glad and honored to have you today in our conclave, sir. I shall now invite you to address our students. Over to you.
Thank you very much for introduction. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
Welcome, Dr. Marek. Nice to have you in this forum.
Thank you very much for invitation. It's my pleasure and honor to be the part of this event. Today, I would like to share some directions in European Union regarding alternative fuels, regarding implementation of policies. So I hope it will also give you some idea about challenges, about situation which is in Europe. So today I would like to discuss about policies of European Union countries. especially about the Poland that I'm located. Also, how situation is regarding LNG. Later on, we'll address a couple of issues regarding electric vehicle and challenges of hydrogen and its implementation. So basically,
excuse me, if you can please share your PPT.
I shared already. Do you see?
Sir, we can't see your PPT, sir.
Your presentation is not visible. It is visible in the icon at the bottom, but it is not visible on the screen.
No.
So can you please, yeah,
Sir,
can you please click on that?
Yes, we'll spotlight that.
Yeah. You have to do the screen sharing.
Yes, I did. Can you see now?
Yeah, it has come now. Thank you. It has come, visible.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Technical problems. So once again, today there will be a couple of issues regarding European Union policies, implementation of LNG, support for electric vehicles, and challenges regarding hydrogen. So at the beginning, it's necessary to understand how such new technologies are launched in European Union. For example, there are some factors that force us as a citizen to launch new technologies. One of the factors is always emission. For example, regarding vehicles, also the same in India. The previous speaker told us about Bharat 6, about Bharat 7. So the same situation, similar it's in Europe. Euro 6, Euro 6D, Euro 7. Those emission requirements force manufacturers to switch to new technologies, which are eco-friendly, which are much more cleaner. As we can see in the right side, according to European Union policy, it's expected to reduce emission a lot during 2020-2030. What does it mean? In case of manufacturing vehicles, it will be needed to launch very clean technology. For combustion engine, it will be goddamn hard to achieve this level. So manufacturers, they have to switch to new technologies like hybrids, like electric vehicles, like hydrogen. So this is one of the crucial factor that will have influence on the future industry. On the other hand, in Europe, what we have, there are some emission credits. This is related with vehicles, but not only, also with industry. In case you are emitting CO2, then you have to pay some fees. In case there are some reductions of emission, then you are getting credits, allowing you to switch these credits to other industry or other types. This is something that also plays a crucial role for car manufacturers and for thinking about implementation of new technologies. Despite of emission, the second very important factor is called low emission zones. In many cities where there is very high pollution, local governments decided to launch low emission zones. What does it mean? It means that if you would like to enter the center of the city, you need to fulfill some requirements regarding emission. I'm talking about the vehicles. So, for example, cars, they have to be quite new and with a very low emission, like electric vehicles, like powered by alternative fuels or hydrogen or something like that. The same situation is also for trucks. So we can have imagination that in case of delivery of goods, daily products, the companies, they have to think about launching very new technologies in their fleets to enter the city to, let's say, manage deliveries. So in the left side, we can see the brief map of Germany. As you can see, there are many cities when they have launched low emission zones. The same we have also in Poland, in very crowded cities. We have in the center, we have low emission zones also launched, Krakow, Warsaw. Other cities, they are thinking about using the same regulations. So this is the factor that will have also influence about our habits, which vehicles we are selecting for use, and for fleets, for logistic companies, which trucks they will, which technology for trucks, for fueling trucks they will use. Despite of those factors, the European Union, they would like to support alternative fuels, launching some initiatives. One of the initiatives was LNG Blue Corridor. It is here is the map of European Union. As you can see, there are shown some main routes connecting different countries: France, Spain, Germany, Poland. Also, those routes should be covered by the filling stations, allowing to refill LNG, liquefied natural gas. European Union would like to strongly promote alternative fuels which will reduce emission. This was the first initiative showing that at first we can think about using LNG for transportation as a fuel. The filling station is needed in case of long distance transportation, but also the fleet operators can freely operate in those routes, having some support, having enough let's say opportunities to maintain engines and everything. So the main also manufacturer of the trucks, they launched LNG option for their offer. So owners can select buying trucks. They can select LNG powered engines. The problem was that it's like a chicken and egg case. In case you would like to start with new technology, there is always a question, okay, in case I have LNG trucks, where I can refill it. So the initiative was just to support installation of first LNG refilling stations, and also give some grants initiative for the initial period of buying those LNG trucks, especially that in Europe, not all companies they are buying the trucks, but they would like to proceed with the lease due to the tax exemptions. So in case of lease companies, they should also have an option to buy LNG trucks. So it was the beginning, but what is the situation now? Initially, not so many fleets decided to buy LNG trucks because lack of the LNG filling stations, so very limited transportation options. But so far, after a couple of years, right now, everything is going in a very good direction. For example, many of refilling stations are under construction. Last year, the company that I'm also closely cooperated, Cryonorm from Netherlands, they built at least 20 LNG filling stations in Germany. Also in Poland, the government launched the policy supporting alternative fuels, electromobility, hydrogens. Based on this policy, they are also supporting LNG as a cleaner fuel. So based on this, many project was launched, and finally fuel stations are under construction. More are coming. This year we expect very high growth of LNG filling stations. Why? Because what I shown here, it was this western part of Europe, but also here there's located Poland, and here are the Baltic countries. So all of them, we are also belonging to European Union. So here also there is a way to cover this route to Baltic countries. So we would like to also join to this network, having LNG filling stations located nearby the main expressways and near to the highways. The technology seems to be expensive, but right now, there are some other drivers that can support installation of this technology. For example, there are some initiatives in case you are buying the trucks. Oh, it's not mentioned here. In case you are buying LNG trucks, you can enter easily Germany because you don't have to pay road tax. This is in case of doing international transportation, this is a good saving. So also taking consideration that you may enter the city center, you may enter every location. That's why many of fleet owners or fleet operators, they are deciding to buy LNG trucks. In case of buying LNG trucks, they're always looking for LNG filling stations to fill their fleet, but also to sell to the public. So that's why the many investments are coming nowadays regarding LNG in this part of Europe, as well as in Germany, Netherlands, in France. Talking about the passenger cars, still petrol takes majority, but diesel seems to be currently not so promoted well due to the emission problems, especially we know the case in United States. After that, many people are not, let's say, happy with using diesel. Also, the new limitations regarding emission cause that diesel cannot be good option because well, it's hard to achieve the limits, as well as the horsepower must be reduced for this purpose. What we can see that alternative fuels takes quite good percentage, around 2 right now, and also electric vehicles. So those technologies are available, and the market shares is increasing every year. Why? Also right now, due to the COVID, implementation, maybe it's a little bit problematic, but what I said at the beginning, the new emission rules cause that every manufacturer is thinking about future technology. So thinking about the very limited emissions, they have to already start developing or launching electric options or hydrogen options for long-term policies. Despite of LNG electric vehicles, it's currently very well supported by the government. Like I said, LNG, initially it was gotten hard to launch this technology because lack of filling stations. Right now, after a couple of years, a lot of companies understand that this is really beneficial, and the government decided to promote it well. The same situation is with EV. EV, there are some countries where they develop a lot EV markets. For example, we can see here Norway, other countries also like Netherlands, France, Germany. So it's a long way, but initially the support is needed. So the government supported with the taxes, lower taxes, incentives regarding infrastructure like charging stations. Till the end of the previous year, 2020, for example, in Poland, charging was for free. So you don't have to pay any single penny for charging your electric vehicle. Also, the building infrastructure was supported in some initiatives by the government. So this allows to create some kind of network of charging stations to support electricity. On the other hand, also support from the government regarding tax benefits. In case of buying electric vehicle, you don't have to pay the tax, so the price is lower. You don't have to pay some fees in this case. So all those initiatives support buying electric vehicles. The problem was that the government only approved, let's say, support for a few models, EV. It was very limited. Right now, there is an extension regarding such rules. So the manufacturer can make some proposal which car model can be used to apply for some incentives for some support after purchasing. There is talking about infrastructure. Still, we have a lot of work to do. There is an initiative which is called Making the Transition to Zero Emission Mobility. So they are supporting installation of the charging stations. In some countries, the network is well organized. In still some countries which started this path very late, they're under development, like Poland, like other countries. We are doing our best to improve this. Also, right now, the number of the vehicles increased, so there is also reason for those companies to invest a lot of installing charging stations. In Poland, the government decided to launch the policy which is called Green Car. And there are some benefits regarding registration of the vehicles. You are getting the special plates which are green, of course, because it's called the Green Car Policy. So in case of buying a vehicle, you are getting some kind of rebate. It's approximately 4,400 euro. It depends on the type of the vehicle. It can be higher, yeah. So this is a good achievement. So in this case, when you can select the type of the fuel from the dealer, then bearing in mind these incentives, many of people, they are selecting electric vehicles not only because it's cleaner, but also about the savings. So our nature as a human being, it's that we are thinking about savings, about some other benefits which we can get. Like I said, the tax benefits exemption during during purchasing, also after registration, the tax exemption will goes to the company that they have these vehicles. So this is something that has got huge influence on the decision makers. Also, our government prepare a law of electromobility and alternative fuels, which still provide this tax exemption for electric vehicles like passenger cars, also for hybrid and mid-hybrid electric vehicles. So those benefits force improvement and increasing the market shares of electric vehicles. Also, awareness is very important. Sometimes people they are not aware about benefits of this technology. First, they are thinking, okay, buying electric vehicle, whether I can charge, whether there will be problems about the distance, and so on, so on. Currently, there are many marketing actions to create awareness about incentives, about reduction of emission, about to change people behaviors, yes, to make purchasing electric vehicles very attractive. So this is a strategy framework that it's launched by some special associations. Due to the running of time, I will switch quickly to hydrogen vehicle. So electric vehicle market right now seems to be also under development because some time was spent on launching some policies and support from government. Regarding hydrogen, it's like a beginning of this road. Especially the technology, it's already well known, but many people are afraid what will be regarding refueling. So we don't have any refueling stations regarding hydrogen. People are still thinking, okay, there are no so benefits regarding hybrid vehicles. Still, the price of the refueling it's quite high. The technology is moving slowly. There must be a strong support from the government, like in initial stage regarding LNG, regarding electric vehicles. Without this, it's impossible to implement this technology very quickly. But of course, the more a vehicle would be purchased, the better conditions. In this case, the price of the refuelings can drop in the case we will have more hydrogen vehicles. So that's why, yes, it's like a chicken and egg problem where about the infrastructure, about everything. So there are many European initiatives to promote infrastructure. They expect to create 130 stations by 2022 and launch 60,000 hydrogen cars in Germany. This is like a good beginning. This will also create awareness that this technology is available, that you may refuel it, it's safe. People sometimes afraid. This is something new. Not all of people can be aware about the benefits, so we have to do something. In this case, many policies are launched. Both electric and hydrogen vehicles are strongly promoted under zero emission policies. There is a new policy created by the European Union by 2030. Because we would like to eliminate fossil fuel transport. Considering this, only electric and hydrogen fuel powered vehicles and trucks will be promoted and will be supported by the government. According to this policy, also the hydrogen refilling stations should be installed in main routes, in main cities. That's why we believe that the situation would be improved very quickly. What the situation? Only 1 minute. I would like to summarize. Currently, there are some doubts whether to support really hydrogen or focus on electric vehicles. Why? Because the problem with the electric vehicles was the distance, the mileage that you may achieve having electric vehicles. Last year, the company Salat Battery Technology, they propose some new technologies that will be available on the market within 2 years' time. They are, according to their proposal, the technology should extend few times the distance, at least 3 or even 4 or 5 times the distance of current existing electric vehicles, and reduce at least 3 times charging. So, having in mind this, we are not sure whether the hydrogen will be the technology that will be spreaded very quickly, because in case of this technology, still we may have a very good option running EV vehicles. Still it's an early stage in development, talking about the hydrogen. A lot of investments and from private investors and funds from government, it's needed to boost this in case we would like to launch it. On the other hand, in case of electric, we are thinking about we have to think about some fossil fuels. What is the source of producing electricity? In Poland, we've got still problem. Crude oil is used for petrol, but in case of electricity, we use coal from coal mines, and this is not the best way. That's why we have to switch to renewable energy, which is under progress to be really clean using electric vehicles. Like I underlined, stressed, there are many policies supporting this green public transportation in case it's electric or hybrid powered engine. So this is, thank you very much for attention. I will be delighted to answer your questions.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. According to the Indian Standard Time, it's afternoon. Hence, good afternoon, sir. This is Anvesh here. Sir, I wanted to ask a question that EU has set for itself quite ambitious targets. It has set 3 deadlines for itself according to the Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy as part of the European Green Deal 2030, 2035 and 2050, wherein Europe will be the first continent. It has set its target that it will be the first continent to become totally carbon neutral. So what is the groundwork? You, of course, sir, you explained everything, all the alternate fuels. Sir, what is the groundwork now, especially in Western Europe and Eastern Europe? How are the things being coordinated, and what is the groundwork? And Europe is already on its way to become a carbon neutral continent by 2050. And also the 3 targets, sir, of 2030, 2035 and 2050. Kindly throw some light on it, sir, as part of the European Green Deal.
Thank you very much for this question. That's true. A lot of work must be done. That's why the policy is, let's say, divided into a few stages. Initially, all European countries, they are forced on the local level, on the government level, nation level, to push for launching alternative fuels, to launching new technologies, not only for transportation, but also talking about renewable energy, producing electricity. So that's why we are using wind. We are installing wind farms. We are last year, the government launched the support regarding production of electricity from renewable sources. Every single house can get benefits in case they will install solar panels. So this is something that allows us to first reduce carbon. And on the other hand, like I said, our government has to fulfill European requirements. So we are a little bit late. In other countries, they started strongly promotion. For example, like Netherlands. You cannot imagine that the incentives that they give to buy electric vehicles, within 4 days, they already gone. So what does it mean? From 1st of January till 4th of January, the all budget given for electric vehicles was already used, because there were so many applications from the industry, from the customer, that within 4 days they used whole budget. So there is a huge interest. People learn that, okay, it's a good time. If I can buy a vehicle which can be cleaner and I can get still money, this is the best option. So at first, the policy about the incentives and support is something which will force us to do this. In case of next steps, we will have, let's say, also some restrictions. Like I said, emission restrictions, not the zones in the cities. So all those rules also will force us to switch to alternative technologies. First, incentives, which are the best option. The second one, the rules, which can have influence on our life and so on. So these two factors will be important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nowakowski. And now I would request the anchor to take over. I would request Dr. Marek to be with us. This is the final expert speaker of this session from KPMG, and it would be nice if you could stay over, and then we will conclude formally. Thank you so much for your perspectives, and I personally look forward to your next visit to PDPU soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for invitations. Always you are invited to visit Poland. I know it's COVID, but we have vaccines, so I hope very soon situation would be better.
Definitely. Let's hope for the best. Yes, Anchor, over to you.
Yes, the session was extremely enriching, and I'm sure students have gained a lot out of the session. Once again, on behalf of SPM PDPU, we thank you for taking your time out and addressing our students. I'll now hand over to Harmish. Yes, Harmish.
Thank you, Joey. Adding more value to our amazing conclave, I would now like to welcome our last speaker for the day, Mr. Nikhil Moge. Mr. Moge is a partner in KPMG in India and leads the natural gas and new energy related initiatives in the firm. He has over 16 years of professional experience working in leading Indian corporate as well as international consulting firms with strong project management and execution capabilities. Over the years, he has worked extensively with stakeholders in the energy industry, engaging with both national and international clients across various engagements in almost all stages of the life cycle of a project. He has also worked extensively on energy policy and regulations with the Indian Oil and Gas Regulator and various ministries related to energy in India. Key areas of expertise include policy and regulatory advisory, process improvement, business transformation, cost optimization, market assessment, feasibility studies, financial appraisals, commodity sourcing and contracting, pricing and economic modeling, corporate and market entry strategy, operational excellence, profit maximization, bid advisory, business planning, supply chain optimization and management. Welcome to SPM's Energy Conclave, sir. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. My apologies if the voice is not clear because I'm actually at a client location. So just do let me know if I'm not clear.
No, it's perfect. And welcome to the conclave, Mr. Moge. Nice to see you after a long time.
Yeah, it's been long, you know. Thank you. So what I'll do is, unfortunately, I have a hard stop at 4 o'clock. I have an urgent call. So what I'll do is maybe I'll cover some of the topics that have been already covered, and I'll skip through those. But maybe, you know, some of these areas where, you know, I have my point of view, I'll cover it in detail. So, you know, I would want to talk about the future of automotive fuels, and there has been a lot of talk behind, you know, what will exist, what will not exist, and how things will look into the future. And what I have tried to do is give my perspective of what will remain in future, and then maybe, you know, I'll not be able to stay back, but I'll be more than happy to receive your questions on an email, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. So I'll just move on. In terms of transportation, if you see, India is the fastest growing markets in the transportation sector. right? The globe and the worldwide, we expect that the transport vehicles would double by 2040. In China, it is going to is expected to be triple the time that what is today. And in India, it is expected to be 4 times of what it is today by 2040, which essentially means that India is going to be one of the major hubs of the transport vehicles. So if you see, India actually overtook Germany to emerge as the fourth largest automotive market globally last year, and this is like one of the major areas that almost all the major automobile manufacturers are targeting, and that is quite evident from you guys have seen a lot of new companies with a lot of new models are coming up even after the entire COVID impact. There have been 7 launches in this entire COVID period. And all these 7 new launches have received tremendous response. So transportation and vehicle, private vehicle category is anyways going to grow substantially. If you see, passenger car sales is likely to dominate by the small and mid car segment, whereas the large car segment remains, a little smaller. And there is a reason behind that, and you would relate to it because now the banks are willing to offer loan, and I'm sure that all of you must have got several calls from banks for auto loans and so on and so forth. So that essentially means that even the banking and financial sector is bullish on the growth of transportation sector. So the statement that I made that India is going to be one of the hubs, there are several things to corroborate this statement. Moving on, what's the current scenario of the transportation sector? If you see, there are 3 main fuels, right? One is the conventional fuels, which is the MS and HSD. Second is compressed natural gas, that's the CNG, and third one is EVs, and Dr. Marek talked about EVs in quite detail. So if you see, government is focusing on the later two for a simple reason that the MS and HSD is primarily through crude oil, and government wants to reduce the import dependency there. And that's the reason there is a lot of focus on compressed natural gas and electric vehicles. Also, if you see in terms of pollution, compressed natural gas and EVs are, I would say a little better than MS and HSD. I won't say these are like superior for 2 reasons. One, EVs, if produced by, if charged by power generated by renewables, then it is cleaner. But if it is charged by power generated by coal, it's not cleaner. So in that sense, that's the reason I said they are relatively cleaner. In same way, CNG, if you see Bharat, all the new refinery upgrades that's being happening, Bharat Stage 6 coming in, MS and HSD would be much more cleaner than what they are currently, and there would be not major difference in terms of the SOx and NOx emissions as compared to gas. But having said this, there's a huge implication of import dependency, and that's the reason government is focusing a lot on CNG and electric vehicles. Now, what will sustain? What will be there in future? There will be a combination of all the fuels that will exist, right? So when we are talking of conventional transport, when we are talking of bio CBG, which is nothing but bio CNG, which is nothing but CBG, that's government is focusing on. Then there is a conventional CNG vehicles. There are hydrogen CNG vehicles, which IGL and Indian Oil have already started with. There are electric vehicles, there are hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, and then LNG vehicles. So government is focusing on almost all these technologies and all these forms of new age transport. Everything will exist. Everything will, sustain. The only thing that we need to see is something will be in a larger quantum, some things would be in a smaller quantum, and economics will drive all these existence. And somebody asked me a question in one of the conferences: is, will petrol and diesel cease to be there in the fuel portfolio? My answer was no, it will not. But having said that, there will be a steep drop in the consumption of MS and HSD going in future. Now, why this is happening? All this is happening because of these three main changes that have happened. Okay, and that has created a perfect storm for these changes. One is the entire demographics and urbanization of the entire cities that's happening. More and more people are moving towards cities. There are 1 billion middle class consumers in China by 2030. There will be 2.5 billion millennials globally, and so on and so forth. So there is a change in the entire demographic and urbanization that is going to take place. Second, the entire climate change and geopolitics is taking over each and every business in going in future. And by that I mean that people and companies are now changing their entire portfolio of how they see or how they used to operate. Most of these companies are now willing to call themselves as energy companies, right? And that's the reason the entire climate change and geopolitics is making a huge difference in the way next stage automobile sector is going to look at. And the third one is digital and technology. Now, there is a lot of innovation that's going on in the automobile sector, right? There are so many new technology players that are coming up, and so many automobile manufacturers that are now talking of driverless cars. I was just reading an article which says that Tesla's first long distance car traveled 560 kilometers without any driver. And that's the kind of innovation and technology interventions that's happening in the automobile sector, right? Metros for that matter doesn't come into automobile, but then metros for that matter, Delhi has already tested the pilot and inaugurated the first driverless trains. So there are a lot of technology innovations that's happening, and the automobile sector is going to have change a lot due to these technologies. All the new cars are coming up with inbuilt internet. All the Morris garages and others cars that are coming up. All these cars are having internet which is enabled, which will actually show the performances of the car on a real time basis, and that's how the owner of the car can take decision in terms of whether to change the tires, whether to run the vehicle at a perfect speed or not. So all those things are going to get worked out by people. Uh, so what's the next category or next stage? If you see, India is among the fastest growing countries in terms of the renewable energy, and that's how the entire EV story is panning out. If EV is, like I said, driven by renewable energy, it's a much more cleaner way of transportation. So it is expected that EV and renewable put together is going to change the entire paradigm of the transport sector. Similarly, the FAME scheme launched by the government has actually helped the EV sector to grow. And these are the numbers. I don't want to get into the numbers, but these are the numbers that shows, top 5 states having EV vehicles and category of EV vehicles that are being done under the FAME scheme. Similarly, if you talk of hydrogen, Dr. Marek was talking about hydrogen. It is still in nascent stages, yes, but India started its journey in 2006, and in 2021, we have moved a long way to come up with hydrogen as one of the major fuels. And the difference that has happened between 2006 and 2021 is that the technological gap that India used to have with the foreign countries, it is reducing. Now, any technology that comes in Europe in say in 2020, India would definitely have that technology by 2021, and that's how the technology gap is also reduced, and hence India is also looking at hydrogen as one of the main components. The national hydrogen energy roadmap that has been prepared by Ministry of Petroleum talks about some of the key interventions that the ministry is planning to have on hydrogen vehicles. Bioenergy and bio-CNG, something which is very crucial for this government, and MOPNG is focusing a lot on this initiatives. There have been several initiatives that have been launched by Government of India on bioenergy side. Be it Govardhan or Satat scheme or biofuel scheme, everything is focused a lot on production of bioenergy and biofuels, and usage of those biofuels and bioenergy into the automobile sector. So this is also something that has been pushed by the government, and run by the industries and taken over by the industries as a key program for the energy sector. And last but not the least, CNG, which is, I don't need to talk about the performance and environment friendliness and safety and reduced maintenance cost. This is well established. You guys are in Gujarat, you know how this works. CNG is one of the major fuel of thrust for the government. The CGD sector, which has come in, several rounds, which has come wherein, we have now got 400 odd districts covered with the CGD network. Going in future, maybe in next 10 years, we will see a lot of CNG ecosystem getting developed, and hence the CNG vehicle categories would also, or CNG vehicles would also increase. It is estimated that by 2030, India would have around 25 million CNG vehicles on ground, which is like a huge number. If we can achieve that kind of scale, the infrastructure is there. It's just a matter of us putting down our heads and working towards conversion of these vehicles on CNG. The global perspective, I would actually skip this specifically because Dr. Marik has beautifully covered almost all the segments of the global kind of case studies which are there. The only highlight that I want to talk about is that new energies is a talk of the town. Most of the countries are looking at new energies as one of the major aspects that they would want to cover in their fuel portfolio and fuel planning. And India is also, no different. We are also looking at new energies as one of the major focus areas. So in terms of challenges, there are three main heads under which we could break these challenges. One is infrastructure. So it is nothing but conversion of private vehicles on alternate fuel is something that we should work on. We should also work towards high-end manufacturing capability, which is very, very important. In terms of EVs, technology and cost, charging technology needs to be developed going in future. LNG infrastructure, government is already started or identified 50 odd LCNG stations across the country, which will help in developing this LNG infrastructure. R&D spend is something that we should look at. Typically in India, the energy companies don't spend too much into R&D, and that's where we lag. But that is something that we should look at. We should also, in terms of some of the other challenges, create mandatory obligation for customers to move on clean fuel. There has to be a robust regulatory and policy framework that needs support from the government. And last but not the least, there has to be a coordination among different stakeholder groups, which is quite evident. And that is something that if we have that in perfection, we would be able to, make this as one of the major focus areas for the government, and we'll be able to, have a leading position in alternate technologies and alternate fuels in the automobile sector. So that's it. With that, I conclude my presentation. Thanks a lot. And like I said, I'll be more than happy to take the questions. Please feel free to write to me. I'm really sorry and my apologies. I have a call and presentation in the ministry at 4 o'clock, so I'll have to run.
No, that is fine. We understand, Mr. Moge. You have an imminent meeting. Thank you so much for your time. It was a very, very valuable perspective, and we'll keep in touch on all aspects related to the subject matter. Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks.
You for joining.
Thanks a lot. It was my pleasure. Thanks.
Right. Anchor, kindly proceed.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request everyone present in the meeting to kindly switch on their cameras in order to capture memory of this wonderful conclave.
Sure. All students, please.
Yes, coordinators. Astha.
So indeed, it was a great day today. The volunteers, they have really put hard efforts.
Bansri is not
Definitely.
Just let us know when it's done so that we can proceed.
Yeah.
All are there?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Nowakovsky, kindly put on your camera. You are one of us. Certainly.
Yes, I mean,
Thank you.
thank you.
Right.
Shall we proceed, Keyur?
Please, please.
Yeah. Thank you. On behalf of the School of Petroleum Management and the entire fraternity of the Institute, first of all, my sincere thanks to all the guest speakers for imparting their immense knowledge to us. Because of you, we are able to make the event what it was. Thanks to other dignitaries and delegates. I would extend my thanks to the chairpersons, Dr. Pramod Paliwal sir, Dr. Akash Patel sir, Dr. Kaushal Kishore sir. Thank you so much for guiding us through. Big thank you to all the attendees for being a wonderful audience. Not to forget our promising faculty members of SPM, the program office, media and public relations committee, volunteers and anchors.
IT admin.
Thank you so much everyone for making this a wonderful event.
Our
Now
IT
I would
department.
like to invite Dr. Akash Patel to give the closing remarks.
Please.
Thank you, Armish. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, friends, as we know, this Energy Conclave has been our annual event, right? This year, the theme is Energy Transition 2021 and beyond. Right? And we planned 3 tracks for the same. The first track, challenges and opportunities for hydrocarbon sector, making India for renewable energy prospects and challenges. And the third track is future of mobility. Dr. Pramod Paliwal delivered the welcome address. Then Dr. S. Sundar Manoharan, Director General PDPU, he has delivered the inaugural address for the conclave. Sir highlighted issues faced by energy sector, and he also shared contribution of PDPU by establishment of manufacturing facilities for solar PV cells, besides providing excellent education in energy sector. Then it was followed by our first track on challenges and opportunities for hydrocarbon sector. Our first speaker was Mr. P. Ilango, Managing Director, HOEC. Sir nicely explained analogy of citing a tiger for finding oil and gas, as it requires patience and persistence. He also emphasized on safety concerns. Challenges are everything happens in the hindsight. So a lot of uncertainties and risks are involved in this E&P business. Cost in exploration, drilling and production is high in India in comparison to even in comparison with countries like USA, right? That is because in India the E&P companies have to put everything in place, which increases the cost considerably, as sir explained. Even for well services also, India has to be dependent on foreign companies. Then our next speaker in first track was Mr. Sandeep Trehan, founder and president marketing and business development at Think Gas. Sir spoke about the transformation from coal-based economy to gas-based economy. He also discussed on challenges in bringing gas to people, that is homes, malls, particularly restaurants for commercial use, hospitals and industries. Opportunities are also there. Geographical areas are increased from 30 to 228 now. In last 2 years, 136 GAs are added, which is phenomenal, which will cater to 71% of population and 53% of areas. Sir also discussed about emerging applications of gas like rail locomotive on CNG and supply of LNG by rail. The third speaker in the first track was Mr. S. Ravi Shankar, CEO, VCS Quality Services. His major focus areas are key emerging themes of future of Indian energy industry, like lower emission, sustainability, energy efficiency, safety and environment, cost efficiency, technology and digitalization, etc. Mr. Ravi Shankar also spoke about major challenges in Indian gas infrastructure and CGD work areas. He concluded with perspectives on establishment of gas trading exchange in India. The second track of the day was Make in India for Renewable Energy, Prospects and Challenges. First speaker in the second track, Mr. Dale Schulman, principal at Schulman Advisory, shared his perspective on power sector in Japan, particularly renewable energy and lessons for India. Sir spoke about the issues faced by a developed country like Japan in switching from conventional sources of energy to renewables. Going further, he also mentioned about the challenges Japan faced after Fukushima accident and changes in energy basket of Japan post that incident. The second speaker of the track was Mr. Abhay Bhavsar, a consultant and former Joint Director, Indian Air Force. He shared views on challenges faced by an EPC in a renewable power plant, particularly solar, like timeline, working hours of workers, pressure of deadline, land issues like land shape, topography, geology, polling station, many landowners of a particular piece of land, regulatory bottlenecks like right of way, etc. The issues of tree cutting and replanting also he mentioned. The challenges on account of multiple agencies like CETG, DISCOMs, MNRE, SECI, that is SCCI, state nodal agencies, right? They are also there. Then he concluded with the issues of costing in EPC of the renewables. Our last speaker before lunch was our own Mr. Akhilesh Magal, Head Renewable Advisory at Jermi. Mr. Magal focused on sector-wise carbon emissions and how carbon emission plays a role in the draft of mobility policy of Government of Gujarat, particularly for electric vehicles and electric vehicles charging station. Post lunch, we started with track 3 on future of mobility. Our first speaker was Dr. Ravindra Udgikar, Vice President, Marketing Strategies and Communication at Praj Industries. His address was focused on new frontier on mobility, particularly biomobility. He spoke on areas like how mobility was evolved in last century, why there is need to explore different alternatives for mobility. He based his presentation on the ground that out of 10 global risks, 6 are dominated by climate risks. Then he focused on history of biofuels, automobiles and internal combustion engines as growth driver for Indian economy. He also focused on challenges of IC engines like import of crude, then forex outflow, traffic congestion, and GHG emission and health hazards. So he mentioned that there is a need of the hour is decarbonizing mobility. And hence he mentioned that from conventional mobility to e-mobility and finally to biomobility we need to go for. There are challenges of fossil fuel, so he mentioned that we need to go for biofuel. And hence he presented biomobility as solution to fossil fuel challenges. He concluded with success story of Brazil for biomobility, where probably the biofuels are blended up to 27% into the MS. Our second expert speaker on future of mobility track was Dr. Marek, Director, Technical Department at Stako Pese, Poland. Dr. Marek shared perspectives on mobility in European countries, mobility drivers, alternative fuels for European Union, new passenger cars by fuel type, and role of emissions in that. Right? As he shared, electric mobility is an area where the European Union has shared competencies with the member states. Sales of EV cars in EU increased by 110% over the past 3 years. Against that, the charging points increased by 58% only, right? The challenge as he mentioned. Dr. Marek also touched upon the green car policy of government in Poland. Finally, he spoke on hydrogen fuel cell, hydrogen vehicles, and research on the technologies of the future. Okay. Then our last speaker of the day, Mr. Nikhil Moge, partner at KPMG. Right? Despite he was having urgent meeting, right? Even he could make it to join us. He spoke on future of automotive fuels. As he remarked, India will be the transport hub, even ahead of China. Right? Indian government wants to reduce use of MS and HSD, and hence the focus will be more on cleaner MS and HSD, maybe because of BS6, CNG, and AVs. Of course, combination of all fuels will exist. Something will be in smaller quantum and something will be in larger quantum, as he explained. This is happening because of three factors, as he covered. One, demographics and urbanization. The second factor he mentioned is climate change and geopolitics. And the third one is technology and digital. EV adoption in India is pushed through FAME scheme. Technology gap is reduced, so something is happening in EU in 2020. The same technology will surely be there in India by 2021. This he told with respect to the hydrogen vehicles. Mr. Moge concluded with challenges like infrastructure and technology and cost. Coordination among various stakeholder groups. Right? So these are few of the challenges as he covered. Right? With this, I end here. Thank you. Yeah, over to
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
For providing great insights of the conclave. Now I would like to invite Dr. Kaushal Kishore, sir, to propose a vote of thanks.
So sincere thanks to all of you. First, my sincere thanks to all the students committee, and there is a story. It's like I joined 2009 here at SPM PDPU, and you won't believe the memory. The first symposium I have in my mind, the first symposium I had attended at SPM, that city gas distribution, that and Professor Paliwal took first initiative to initiate and to have any symposium at SPM. And luckily that time I was very new to the system, but it was privilege for me to work closely with Professor Paliwal in 2010. And and for me that set the benchmark in my mind, that whenever I will be associated with any conclave, conferences, seminar, I must touch the benchmark what Professor Paliwal has set in 2010. And you won't believe every year Professor Paliwal take a lot much initiative to make sure that school should have 3-4 conclave, symposium and seminar. And basic objective is this symposium seminar is very simple, but it has too much meaning in long run. This all the time we talk about industry, academia collaboration, and this symposium seminar which gives immense opportunity to all of us to interact with industry personality, the experts from the industry, right? They come to interact with us on campus, and and even the virtual mode also doesn't matter. But through this conclave and seminar, they come to know about our wonderful university, school. They interact with our students, with the faculty member. They carry wonderful memory about our brand. And you won't believe, but your final placement, your summer internship, everything is totally supported by these all activities. And we are thankful to all industries, the experts who has accepted our invitation to become the speaker of this wonderful energy conclave. And thanking them for encouraging our students, right? And you won't believe, to all students, this is my personal experience. All the time I have been telling you, I wrote one mail to Business Standard to become the media partner, and within the 5 minutes they said yes, we are happy to be associated with SPM PDPU. And that is all about the power of brand what SPM PDPU we have, right? And I'm thankful to all senior students of SPM PDPU. This is very meaningful. Again, the culture what we have set in this university from day one at this school, that a senior colleague, right, like Professor Paliwal, Professor Akash Patel, empowered me to take all the decisions, right? And the culture is like that, the students, senior students, right, they take all the initiative, and they guide juniors to carry on the legacy, understand? And I'm very much happy because this year, because of pandemic, we were a little bit concerned that this culture, maybe the chain what we have, maybe have some issues. But I'm thankful once again to my senior colleague Professor Paliwal, that he ideate the things, and then because of that, the chain has not broken, right? And then, senior has worked closely with juniors, and juniors, they know the responsibility of carrying this wonderful brand. And I'm sure that, the next year when the PGP 20 will become senior, then PGP 21 will be work under the guidance of PGP 20, and you will pass on all the legacy and the wonderful, the work and responsibility to the juniors. So overall, it has been a great journey for me also to be associated with my colleague, with my students, to be part of Energy Conclave. I'm thankful to Business Standards for accepting our offer invitation to become the media partner. I'm sure that on coming Wednesday they will write a bit about this conclave as part of the campus talk with some photographs and some details, right? And I'm thankful to the DG PDPU, Director SPT, SOT, and other faculty fraternity from PDPU, the experts who joined from the industry, the alumni who took time and who decided to attend this conclave, right? And thankful to my school director, Dr. Gopal Krishnan, who has given unconditional support all the time to carry on the event, right? So overall, it has been wonderful experience for all of us. And believe me, Professor Paliwal is not well for last 1 month. And I know how much difficulty he might be facing today. From morning till evening 5 o'clock, he has been attending session sincerely. And you can see, and that's all about, inspiration in the life can be taken from anyone. When you are talking from, when you are interacting with the, people from industry, you can imagine yourself that down the line, 30 years, 20 years, you will be so popular, you will be so, renowned in your field. And that one kind of, inspiration you can have. And secondly, looking at the faculty, what we have, you can also, learn in the classroom and out of the classroom activity that, whatever we do in our life, we are highly committed to do the best, right? So it's wonderful teamwork, and it's amazing journey come to an end. And of course, we will meet for other occasion to do something very special. And of course, we have party due from Dean Professor Paliwal. When all of you will come to the campus, he will host, get together party on the successful event of, 4 symposium that HR analytic, HR conclave. Then we had business management symposium. We had, data analytics, and then, ending with this, energy conclave for academic year 2021. So we all faculty colleagues at SPM PDPU is looking forward to welcome you all at our campus, and may God bless you all, and stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you so much. Over to you, Hermes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a wonderful speech, and I'm sure everyone from
and Dr. Kaushal Kishore, we are also thankful to you for your support and being a good teammate.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Fine. Great. Yes, Harmesh, you may formally conclude the event so that with your permission we can leave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
okay. Right.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. KK. And all the students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nowakowski. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Marek Nowakowski. We'll meet soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to meet you soon.
We look forward to have 1 hour session with our students, as per your convenience, right? And we will write you separately to have detailed discussion.
Of course.
I'll be delighted to assist you, and I will be happy to receive some messages from you. I hope that it's a beginning of our communication.
Yes. Certainly.
Thank you, and have a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anvesh.
Good job, good job done, team.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sir, we on behalf of student
so much,
volunteers,
Thank
thank
you,
for Dean sir and our faculties for providing us with this opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Just a request, if volunteers can stay, we can have a picture in the end. And KK sir, if you two can like spare some time, it would be great if you two are with us. I think KK sir left.
कोई नहीं, चलने दे.
सब लोग कैमरा ऑन कर दो.
अभी बाकी कितने हैं लोग यहाँ पर?
रुको जरा.
सबको निकालना पड़ेगा क्योंकि सब शायद छोड़ के चले गए होंगे चालू करके.
एक्चुअली चल हरमीश तेरे काम पे, तू ऊपर से मैं नीचे से.
अरे बट हु इज द ऑर्गेनाइजर, वो कर देंगे ना.
अरे पर पता किसको किसको करना है मेरे को क्या? प्रेजेंटर्स को रहने देना ना सिर्फ.
हाँ
राइट.
ओके
ओके.
वैसे सब सो ही रहेंगे, चलते हैं.
जितने हैं एक्चुअली उनके तो लेना.
के सारे विद अस.
Good evening, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
I heard last to Hermes, na, he said stay, so that time I logged out already. But good.
Thank you so much.
You know, I could see face of all beautiful, you know, and smart students of the class. So indeed pleasure seeing all of you, and wonderful work all of you are doing, and all of you have great communication skills, personality. Keep on working hard every day, add value to your body of knowledge, and looking forward to meet you all, right? So that's all about the way you people are, you know, desperate to come back to campus. You know, we faculty members also looking forward. Hello, Satish sir is here. Satish Pandey sir, you're here. Huh?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah, great.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir.
Job very well.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
ठीक है, so good work, Anvesh. You coordinated well. Anvesh, no, let's stop recording now. No, it's all done, no?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.